Hey everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Pigskin Breakdown Show, powered by the Sports Guys Iowa Network. I am Brandon Leonard, joined today by a couple fun guests. One of my co-hosts, JD John Gunderson. JD, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing great.
And we got another very special guest on today, another coach interview, and we'll get to who that is in just a moment. But as always, we got a few housekeeping items. If you don't already do so, please be sure to check out all of our social media pages. We got a TikTok page, Instagram, X, or Twitter. You can follow us there at Sports Guys Iowa. We did just make a slight name change on our Facebook page, went from SGI to Facebook, and now allowed us to do Sports Guys Iowa. So you can find us there with that title on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our YouTube pages to listen to full episodes. We got clips on social media. So a lot of fun stuff that we're doing over here at SGI. We do got to do a quick marketing segment. Got to talk about our friends over at Van Ag in Dysart. Protect your yield and improve your fields with Van Ag. Van Ag offers precision drone performance or applications for fungicides, foliar nutrients, and fast, accurate cover crop seeding, less crop damage, more efficiency, and the ability to work when other equipment can't. Get a hold of Nate Van Buren at 319-430-3671 to learn more about what Van Ag can do for you and your crops. That's Nate Van Buren with Van Ag at 319-430-3671. All right, now we can get into the fun stuff, JD. So we talked about, we got another coach interview. It's been a bit of a theme this week with the Pigskin Breakdown Show. It's Raider Week, Williamsburg Raider Week, and we got the ultimate Raider here with us today. No longer with Williamsburg, but always a Raider for life. We've got Cornell head football coach Curt Ritchie with us today. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time to join us today.
Yeah, anytime I can talk about Iowa high school football and Cornell football, I gladly take it.
And we like to say this is just guys talking ball, and that's really what it is. We're here to have fun, pump the tires of the Rams, the Raiders, and just, talk ball. So you're entering your second season at Cornell, but this is far from where your journey has started. Could you tell us a little bit more about where Coach Curt Ritchie got his start on your football journey?
Oh, man. But I always tell people I'm pretty sure I'm the winningest football coach from Deep River, Iowa. I grew up in Deep River, and we didn't have football. I was just fortunate enough that my 7th grade year is the first year they let us start sharing football with English Valleys. And I have to think if that decision hadn't been made, who knows? But so I went there and I went on to St. Ambrose, played for a year, then transferred to Iowa and all that stuff. But I went back to English Valleys and coached with Tim Carson, my old high school coach, for what I thought would be one season, but it ended up being one game. Unfortunately, we upset Sigourney Kyoto. I think they might have been ranked number 1 that night. It's a great, I know the celebration was awesome. And Coach Carson passed away that weekend of a massive heart attack. So it's a crazy thing. And I always tell people, it's everybody at the Hall of Fame induction would say they have the ultimate football wife. My wife, because of the funeral and visitation, the game got pushed from Friday to Saturday, September 9th, 1989. So happened to be the night I was getting married. So we got married, then we went to a football game, and then we went to a reception. It was, once she survived that, I guess we were set for life in the coaching world. And happened to be that next year, we hired a guy named Tom Wilson to be our 4th grade teacher at English Valleys, be our head football coach. And so we've been together ever since. We ended up teaching elementary school together, and we're there together for 3 years, still a lifelong friend. So I probably talk more football with him on a daily, if not a few times a week, every week. Yeah, so stayed there as 8 years as the head coach after that, and then moved to Williamsburg in 2000, and 2001 was the first season, and stayed there through 2024 season, and then moved over to Cornell. So it's just been very fortunate for sure. Just led to a lot of good places and a lot of help along the way for sure.
Yeah, a ton of connections, and we've had Coach Wilson on our shows.
Yeah.
When was that?
A couple of months ago, we had Coach on. And
The good thing we're still in business then after that. Yeah, watch your company sometimes.
He was great. He was full of stories as well. And you talk about all the connections that you make, along the way. And that's the first time I've heard that, the whole story with you and the wedding day and everything. I didn't know that. And I grew up in Eastern Iowa myself. I went to HLV. Familiar with your work and everything and all your tenure. That is certainly one of the crazier starts for a football journey, I think, so far that we've heard all.
Some of you just don't think about the time, but what I really remember about it is that day I went to a meeting, I believe, and I went to North English, and we lived in Millersburg, but I took both set of car keys and my wife had to go get something done, and that didn't go over near as well as going to a practice. Her not being able to get to that was a big deal.
All worked out in the end.
Yeah.
But you've talked about you got an extensive football background and switching from the high school ranks to the collegiate ranks. You're now in year 2. What feels different as you prepare for camp this year as compared to last year with your first year?
I think it's a lot of things. I think for me, it starts with the staff and the players. Obviously, that's where it always starts. And it just feels so much better about the staff. The returning guys, they were tremendous from the beginning. But we've added some new guys, and I think that's been just allowed me to sleep a little better for sure. We hired Jake Olson from Loras College, another guy I've been around a long time and talked a lot of ball with for a lot of years. He's our offensive coordinator. It takes a huge load off to have that kind of experience, and I feel good about that. We hired one of my old St. Ambrose buddy, Todd Sturdy was a friend of mine at St. Ambrose, ended up being the head coach and moved on to Eastern Washington, to Washington State, to Iowa State, to his whole journey, whatever that, I'm probably forgetting something. Anyway, I hired his son to be our receiver coach, somebody I've known since he was pretty small, and he's just going to be a young, amazing coach for sure. We just added Frank Heggie, who has been in Solon, has been a head coach at the college level in the Arena League. So just feel so much more comfortable with the people we have here in the office doing their work on a daily basis and getting prepared for camp. Our guys report Tuesday. And yeah, so that helps. And then also for me, I told the guys that I think I really struggled last year with the fact I believe so much in the fact that you really earn wins during the off season, right? I've always been, they want to make up 100 reasons why we won a few games at Williamsburg, but we obviously we had great players, we had great facilities, we have great support. There's no doubt about any of that, but we also had a lot of guys who just worked really tremendously hard and won a lot of days in between seasons and just continued to grow and get better. And I didn't feel like I was a part of that last year. I just showed up for the season and then you play. So you don't feel like you've earned the right maybe to a lead. I think I struggled with that a little bit more than I realized. And so this year I feel like I was in the battle with these guys, right? Since last season to this season, we've done a lot of growing and developing together. So I just feel a lot more at home and a lot more comfortable being with my team.
Yeah. You got some building blocks too, it looks like. Defensively, you're returning, is it 7 starters and a couple all-conference guys?
Yeah, probably. That was the strength of our team last year. And we definitely feel like we have quality returners at all 3 levels of our defense. Feel really good about that for sure.
Yeah, and I think I read it was 4 starters coming back offensively. And then from a roster standpoint, got 97 is what the sheet that Carrie shared with us, your SID.
Yeah.
And a pretty remarkable number, a lot of first-year guys. And I see a lot of Iowa guys on there as well. One that stood out in particular, Bo Burns, who I believe was Class 8 player here in the state, player of the year, just a dynamic athlete. Was that an intention to really try to bring in a large bulk number of freshmen here, or did you have a number in mind where you want to keep your roster in place?
No, definitely all those things. We have to have a good plan. And I think the thing was last year we had about 80 guys. So we were up about 100, about 20 guys. There's 2 parts to that. Obviously, we're going to be really young. Of our 97 guys, over half our team is going to be first year players. Still really young. And if you figure out first and second year players, you're probably looking at almost 70 of the 100. It's not where you really want to be, but you have to get there and you got to develop them. Once you get here, you got to retain them, you got to develop them. And that's the next challenge, but feel awesome about this class for a few reasons. First, I think the number's great. We need to have a big class like that. It's the biggest class they've ever brought in at Cornell by about 10 or 15. And I feel like the quality is really good. I'm really excited about some of the players we're bringing in. It better be because they're going to have to jump into the fire. I think we might have started maybe 10 or 12 freshmen that last game of the year last year. We're kind of used to that. In this league, it kind of works. Sometimes there's a lot of teams in the same predicament. The Iowa part becomes big for me. If you look at any program in Division III level in Iowa that wins, they do with a lot of Iowa guys. I can definitely see why a year into the job. First of all, I think we have I've been able to watch football over the country for the last year. We're a big presence in Texas and Arizona and Florida and Colorado and Las Vegas. And all those have some good football, but I really truly believe we have some Iowa people to stick up against anybody for sure. And then you don't have the homesickness. You don't have the get used to the weather type thing, all that stuff. Yeah, it's something we need to continue to grow with that Iowa thing, but we truly I love our guys to be connected to the country by being around guys from all over. I think that makes everybody better when they're well-rounded. And yeah, I love hearing our guys. I'm going to go to Arizona at spring break. I'm going to go to Texas or Florida, or we had one guy from Arizona shot his first deer here last year. I was not really sure. I was excited to hear he was handling a gun, but I just think it's just an awesome experience to see these guys going through that.
Coach, just looking at what you brought in, a lot more Iowa players. Getting up to 90, 100 is really big. Just getting into that just gives you depth, gives you the ability to develop players, not have to throw them out there too soon. I think getting your roster up, your numbers up are probably the highest I've seen in Cornell in a number of years. So that's a great first step.
Thanks. Last year I met with the team for the first time. I think it's scheduled for 45 minutes. We went for about 2.5 hours. I think my wife was waiting in the car. That didn't go so well either. But I remember getting out there and telling her that once we discussed how long the meeting took, I'm like, look, I don't know if any of these guys can play at all. But my goodness, they're just super people to be around. It was so fun. They're so excited. It was good. And then I come to the first practice and I realized how he could play. And I would just tell my boys that we're not very good. We got a lot of work to do. And they'd come to practice like, Dad, you need to quit saying how bad you are. You guys have a lot of good players. And exactly what you said, JD, it's at every position we do probably have one good player, but very few do we have two. And that's what we got to work on. We got to work on that depth. We got to just build. There's a big difference between a 18-year-old guy and a 22-year-old guy that's been working out for 4 years. So that's where we got to get to.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Midwest Conference. You're really in a conference with a lot of Illinois schools, some really strong schools. Monmouth is top 25 almost every year in the playoffs. Lake Forest is really good in Chicago. You actually have the University of Chicago, very top club. But now you got Luther coming in the league. So it's Luther, Grinnell, and Cornell now in the Iowa contingent. Talk about that climb, because Midwest has had a really 1-2.
Yeah.
Sort of everybody else fighting it out, the other 9 schools. So there's an opportunity to climb. Talk about what you've learned playing first year in the Midwest Conference.
First of all, I love how similar all the schools are. It was awesome for me to see some different places other than the time that my son-in-law, Austin Blight, played for the Hawks. That 5-year stretch, we didn't get to go to many other games besides Iowa games, which isn't a terrible thing. But other than that, I've always went to Iowa conference games. I love taking my kids when they're little of those games because you can play some catch on the sideline while you're watching the game, that kind of thing. But I just wasn't going to Lawrence. Lawrence is a tremendous place. It's one of the nicest football facilities. I love their stadium. Knox has an amazing stadium. Unfortunately, Monmouth has nice everything, including a lot of good players. But yeah, so it was fun. And I think that's what I like about for the Iowa guys. You're going to see some different places. You can go to Chicago. Our 2 overnight trips this year are to Lake Forest and the University of Chicago, both really good football teams and really neat places. And although I haven't seen Lake Forest yet, I'm sure it's tremendous. I saw them here last year. Yeah, but it's a conference. You have a chance to see your work quick. I think there's some opportunity there. If you can just continue to grow and get a little bit better, I think you can see yourself climb. Obviously you have the Illinois College had their run there too, where they're really good. They are not on our schedule this year. There's actually 2 teams you don't have in the conference with the Luther coming in. There's 2 teams you aren't scheduled to play, but you have those. Monmouth obviously is picked to win the league again and should be. Lake Forest is always up there, but then you have those guys. University of Chicago has their years. They have some amazing players, and then Ripon is that next team that you got to try to find a way to get over the top of. Those are the guys. I just got to find a way to climb a little bit at a time. And if one person tells me Rome wasn't built in a day, one more time I might throw up or something, but I'm not real patient that way sometimes. But I've had to learn. And that's truthfully why I just realized not that there weren't challenges at Williamsburg, or I've always found ways to challenge myself and try to get better. But I just really missed the building part. That's really what I've decided over the first year, that I wanted the excitement of watching guys build new habits and grow into something that nobody thinks you can be.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you get to go up to Decorah.
Yeah.
And you get to go to Grinnell, which I think is great. I think it's exciting. The Midwest Conference now is 3 Iowa teams. Yeah. And what you're building there has been getting the numbers up, and what you're building, we're really excited about it. I know, Brandon, when you got hired last year, you were really late. When was the hiring?
It's about 3 days before spring ball. So, March.
Yeah. So you were behind the 8 ball, but
Brandon, I think we had 4 commits at the time. We were scrambling.
Yep.
Try to bring in a class, and they found some good guys late, but not enough of them.
And Brandon was so excited he was like, oh, Coach Ritchie's going to light it up.
Yeah, like I said, you read the local newspaper, the Marengo Pioneer Republican.
Yeah.
You look back at some of the great players you developed. You talk about your son-in-law, Austin Blythe, Caden Weegan now in the NFL. Another guy, Kelly O'Rourke. I won an intramural championship with him. So a phenomenal football player.
Well, the O'Rourke boys were as good as any we had, for sure. Their mom babysat our kids, and there was a lot of times we didn't have a lot of with our kids and their kids, you didn't have a lot of time or money or energy to go do anything. So a lot of our entertainment sometimes was just getting a cooler and some lawn chairs and watching the Rourke boys play rough 21 in the front yard on the basketball hoop. It always lead to some good entertaining moments until you had to put an end to it. So
Yeah, I'm sure you had to separate those guys quite a bit.
Oh yeah, they're good players for all of them.
Absolutely. But yeah, you talk about that. You're certainly building something. And was it 4-5 last year in conference play?
Yep, 4-5 overall. Yep.
Yep. So
Yeah, 4-6. Yeah, 4-5.
Another interesting thing, looking at your results last year, you guys were damn good on the road, 4-1 on the road Warriors.
Yeah, which doesn't leave a lot of wins at home. We're still trying to find that. So, yeah, that's all. I see the other end of it. See, I always see the bad part. I always see the fact we just have one at home. I forget we're pretty good on the road. So yeah.
But doing a lot of home cooking though this year. You got 6 home games. Start off with both your conference or your conference.
We're 5-5.
Let's see. I want to pull this up. So yeah, we got Beloit and Monmouth. They're the first 2. Then you go to Decorah.
Yep.
But yeah, interesting schedule though, and excited to see how you guys do.
I thought we finished the year, felt like we were starting to maybe try to put some things together. Felt like we found ourselves a quarterback. We were able to build around that. We're going to have to continue to do that. Every lineman in our program right now is either going to be a first or second year player. We're going to have to be creative with that and try to keep our quarterback upright for sure.
Do you have a specific instance or story from last season that really captures maybe a turning point with your program where you really start seeing, all right, things are starting to turn around a little bit?
Oh boy, I don't know. It's such a whirlwind. I don't even know if I remember, but I do know it was late. I do know for us personally as a team, I think when we inserted Mason to a quarterback, I think it was a tough decision. Mason's got an interesting story. He left us the spring I was here. He entered the portal and went somewhere else, then came back 2 days into camp. And so that as a first year coach here, that was a challenging thing to say the least, but I've really been happy with his growth over the last year and feel like he's earned the right to lead this team a little bit. I really think, truthfully, this is sad or scary to say. I think it was halftime of the Cornell game, which was the last game of the year where I finally felt like I was comfortable just taking control and making halftime adjustments like I felt like I should be. And I think it really showed in the second half of that game. And so it truthfully might have been then. And there was a time, you talked about the returning starter. It's Lee. I don't know if it was Lake Forest. I think we scored a bunch of points in the second half. If you pull that game up, I think. And at that point, we actually pulled 4 senior starters on the O-line and put in 4 first-year players. And so we continued to just find ways we almost rotated our offensive line after that. I loved our 4 seniors, don't get me wrong. We just weren't getting the job done. But we almost rotated like a D-line. Like the young guys weren't able to play the whole time, but the old guys were beat up and really couldn't either. It became really like a D-line rotation.
Yeah, to your point, it was, you put up 21 in the fourth against them. And I do remember that game last year against Cornell. It was on the road, and I was a little shocked when I was looking at that because we do a pick 'em show every week. And we got there's this algorithm, and I said Cornell's blowing that line out of the water. They're gonna dominate them. I look at the halftime, I'm like, shoot, Cornell's beating them. So that's interesting though, that you're able to think outside the box, swap offensive linemen out. But but they are the tough, rugged guys. They don't come off the field unless the limbs dangling off their arm.
And is the thing where 3 of those guys had started at least 3-year starters, and they'd been tremendous. Don't get me wrong, I'm probably as close to them as any group I've coached here. And so it was hard. But it was just something so part of the rotation probably came from the fact that, first of all, the young guys were getting the job done probably a little bit better. Second of all, I couldn't give up on the old guys. So it just worked that way.
Great for development, that's for sure. Now, we'll close the page a little bit more on the 25 season. Move to 26. I know you said camps, it's coming up. You said it starts on Tuesday. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, we report Tuesday,
Will contingent of players stick around Mount Vernon on campus?
We have had Mason did not go home this summer. His mom just decided that Vegas is not a good place for him in the summer. He is making a little bit better growth and decisions here. So he stayed. He actually worked in Brooklyn at Manats and spent a lot of time with the Williamsburg guys and worked out with them, and mainly the ones going to Wartburg. But so he was able to really have some good growth this year. He's probably 20, 25 pounders heavier than when he showed up here last fall. He came, and then what happened is he's kind of those guys. He's the leader he wanted. The other guys started kind of ciphering back and forth. They'd come and stay and work out them for a week. And then, so I don't know, this week he must have 5 or 6 guys here. So I'm starting to see that a little bit. Again, another reason why it really helps to have Iowa guys, or Iowa guys can get to those workouts and spend some time developing together and holding each other accountable. And another reason why you got to continue to grow that part of your team.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't think there's anything wrong about training with someone from another school, especially another conference. I look back to when I was in high school, and shoot, there's times where I couldn't work out with someone from my HLV team for whatever reason, and or run routes or something. And one of my best friends was from BGM, and we had no problem picking it up and throwing the ball around. I think as long as you're getting the work in, hey,
They kind of work for us because we don't play these teams. So there'd be times they work out with between the Mount Vernon crew that's at Dubuque and the Williamsburg guys at Warburg and our Mount Vernon guys. If I could just, that team right there I'd taken that team any day. So yeah, there's a pretty good group of players out there.
Yeah, it's exciting times for sure. And I think I read too that outside of just the team, you got some facility upgrades as well. Did you get new turf?
We did, and it was very much needed. And so real thankful that took place, but got it done like July 18th, I think, or 17th. They finished it for us and used the same turf we had in Williamsburg. Love our turf. And the company is tremendous. And yeah, our guys love it. It's been a huge addition for sure. They deserved it. They played on some rough fields, to say the least.
And I love that you got the ability to do night games as well.
Opened the season last year against Coe here at night. And it was an amazing atmosphere, besides the fact they were way better than us on that night. But it was an awesome atmosphere. There's tons of people, and it was just fun at night. And our campus was excited about it because it was a night game. And truthfully, it messes up the entire getting in a routine of a schedule. Because we played on a Thursday night, actually. We played it early. And so all the high school teams were able to come. And so that was fun. I know yesterday we had our conference meeting, Midwest conference meeting at Monmouth. And the two girls on volleyball players that did my interview at the end, they're all excited because I think the Warburg Monmouth games at night at Monmouth to open the season this year. And they were telling me how excited they were for that. Just because it's a night game, they're just excited about it. So yeah, I think that's something we can do to continually develop things for sure. A little excitement.
Now that Thursday matchup, if you don't mind me asking, is that something that was planned before you got here, or what goes into a Thursday matchup?
It really Cody probably brought up to you first, Beth. There's some things that I learned when you can bring your team in Division III is really counted backwards from the first game. So if you start 2 days earlier or whatever, Thursday instead of Saturday, you can come in 2 days earlier. So for me, that was what sold me. I knew I needed as much time with my team as I could get. So that's what really sold me on it to start with, was just being able to come in 2 days earlier. You still have to skip a day of practice, so trying that time to make it more even. They only let you count from Friday, but that was a big part.
You play, Coach, in the longest running rivalry west of the Mississippi. Coe and Cornell have played for, I don't know, goes like 137 or 138
years. I don't know.
It's been a long time. It's one of the all-time great rivalries. I think that's a historic game. That's always your non-con. But then you basically play conference. I'm just really excited about where you've taken the program, Coach. Ghost and I talk about all the time. You have the best helmets.
Yeah, I'd like to add some black in there to our uniforms, but no, I love our helmets too. I was a Rams fan then growing up. I don't know. First year I must like football is when Vince Ferragamo took them. I know part of it was I just liked their helmet, and I didn't realize how many bad years are going to be. At least we had Eric Dickerson to get us through some of those tough years.
That you did. But you have a really unique design, that purple. Your Ram is, I just think it's great. And hey, man, kits matter to kids. So
yeah, purple looks good on everybody. Yeah.
It does look good. And you got a historic program. I'm guessing it's about year 139, 140 for the program. Excited to see what you're going to do. When someone's done playing you next year, or fans that are in the stand, what's one word you would use that you want them to think about when they think about Cornell football?
Sure. Boy, that's a good question. Makes you want to be about who you are. But I think that I just want them to know the word we use a lot here is valued. We want to, I think there's a lot of things I wish we could provide more of. They don't let me do financial aid. And that's a good decision because I just let everybody come for free. Yeah, I wish I could give them a brand new meeting room, an indoor facility. And although then at Williamsburg, I get tired that everything was just really nice. I loved our old weight room. It's not air conditioned. The weights were rusted. And we developed a lot of good players through that. But I think the one thing you can make sure you do is that you value them. They feel like you really care about them, because we do. The other thing is I want to make sure that they understand that whether they want it or not, worked really hard to develop them as people. And you know how that is with anybody. Nobody wants to be pushed in those areas, but we want to try to make them the best players they can be, but also just the best person and student. And so I think and I don't know, I've never really had any trouble with that. I don't think. I probably struggle with that a little bit when I go back. I feel like I'm living two lives a little bit just because Williamsburg's home. And so I still feel like I'm leaving that life sometimes and driving for 45 minutes to this different life. And those people are so important to me. And so but it's so fun just to be able to share what you've learned from that wonderful place with another place. That's really what I'm trying to do. But that's the word I think I'd choose, is just valued and pride and who they are. But yeah, and it's been really fun. This week, in order to have a team camp in Iowa, you have to have a college cover it. So this has been a probably not the best week for us with that, just being a week away from camp of our own. But we've been to Western Dubuque, to West Liberty, to Iowa City West, to Williamsburg last night, had a great one. So it's just been really fun to get around those high school guys again and see so many, a lot of good coaches, a lot of good players. And again, I put it up against anybody. That's probably been a real comfortable week for me to get back around those guys. I remember the one year Caden, we just must have been a junior or something. And I remember telling Coach Penner we might not win a game. And somehow Caden found a way, and our team found a way to get in the dome for the Final Four. It all worked out, but sometimes you got to go through those tough times, right? Adversity makes you better. And so that's fun.
That's cool, Coach. So, hey, we got one last question.
Yeah, you bet.
Kind of, because we cover high school really heavy and we cover college. But if you're going to recommend a place for fans to go to eat in Williamsburg, where would you recommend? And then also maybe in Mount Vernon.
Sure. In Williamsburg, we go to Pizza House is a place everybody likes to go visit. It's just different, and people like to go there. And in Mount Vernon, we spend our time, our staff, when I take them out to eat, we go to Whitey's in Lisbon. They got a big menu, and it's kind of the place my wife likes to hang out at. So it works out great for me.
Man, you talk about steak in Williamsburg. I used to remember going over to Myers Grill all the time. They had a hell of a steak. I used to go spend many hours at the rec center. And after it was closed down, one of my friends that we play with, his dad was one of the chefs there, and sneak in and get a bite to eat post basketball. So I certainly miss that about Williamsburg, and just love the whole town in general. The Raider drive-in. I think Caden's got his own.
Yes, he does.
Or something.
Yeah, Blizzard or something. But I see the sign every day when I leave town. But yeah, the little thing about Mike and Myers Grill there, Austin and I own a hunting club called Legacy Acres, and Mike was our chef there. He's our chef. And Mike, my second year at Williamsburg, we made the state championship game in 2002, and Dustin Bethke and that crew, Jacob Spratt, all those guys. And Mike fed us steak and became a lifelong friend since. And I get emotional talking about people I care about. But excuse me, Mike's battling cancer right now. And so he's battling some cancer. And if you remember Mike, he had the long ponytail. So my wife just told me yesterday, he just cut his hair off. I'm sure that's killing him.
Yeah. Something that I remember as an area staple. And I do remember retail. I take a lot of pride every time I was in there to sit down in his restaurant. He always made us feel at home.
You tell JD what the restaurant is. Have you ever been there, JD?
No, I have not.
His grill. You went through it is a garage, basically. And you went through his kitchen to get to the table. So it was a good fitting for Mike, for sure. But man, the food's tremendous.
He's great at what he does. And I guess I did not know that. So we'll certainly keep him in our thoughts for sure. But Coach, we just want to say thanks again for taking the time to sit down with us and tell us a little bit more about yourself and the Rams program, my familiarity from being in the area. Coach Smith, who was my high school coach, Coach Kevin Smith, has always spoke very fondly of you and looked at, I guess maybe I'd be putting words in his mouth, but almost looked as you as a confidant as well and someone to look up to.
I remember the first time Kevin took over and we had our first all-district meeting. And I think HLV had two good linemen. Anyway, he didn't know that he could put two guys up. And I'm like, so they're taking nominations. And I finally raised my hand. I'm like, if he wasn't going to put up the other guy, I'm going to nominate him. And ever since, he's thanked me for ended up both making it. And
well, that's what you veteran coaches are there for. And I'm sure he probably repaid the favor. He was at HLV he put in 27 years and won a ton of football games.
Yeah, that place has got a lot of pride in it for sure. That's a good town.
Absolutely. And a lot of pride for the Raiders as well and Cornell. And we're really looking forward to this season. And it starts September 5th on the road, the Bremner Cup at Coe. And then you open Midwest Conference play at home, Van Meter Field at Ash Park on the 12th against Beloit. Again, best of luck to you this season. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone for listening to this interview and all of our shows here at Sports Guys Iowa. Take care.